I'm Ian. This is Trey. We work with a guy, you guys may know him, Jack from Iced Coffee Hour. He's helping us build this YouTube channel, right? And he gave us some questions that are very awkward for us based on, my career, his career. And he said he wants us to answer them. So I have questions for Trey. He has questions for us. Trey, I'll start with you. All right, first question. What age did you become a millionaire?
For me, I believe I was around 25. Okay. What about you?
26.
Okay, so about the same time frame.
You got me beat.
How did you wind up making that first million? I'm just curious.
I would say content creation mixed with creating businesses in that same field.
Okay, cool.
Your first million was, let me guess.
Big shocker, multifamily syndication. And it didn't hit with 1 million. I think that first year I became a millionaire, I made over 7 million.
Jeez, that's in 1 year.
In 1 year.
Can anyone make it in real estate, or does it take a specific type of person?
Yeah, I think no is the answer. What I find is everybody always wants to say, yes, anybody can do it. No, they can't. There are people who just lack business acumen. There are people who lack the work ethic. There are people who lack integrity. And over time, those things will undermine your success if they're not part of your character. I was wondering, for you, I know you started this channel that kind of began your rise to fame and becoming a multimillionaire while you were serving in the Air Force. I love that story. Did all that financial success coming from an environment where people like in barracks and, people are very blue collar that you were working around, did it make you feel happier when you became this multimillionaire and you got this juggernaut going? Or did you maybe feel a little kind of weird about it because the people in your peer group, I'm assuming, were not for the most part in that position?
Yeah, it was weird at the time because I was in the military when I started making decent revenue. I was reserves at the time. So when I would go do my monthly weekend duty, I wouldn't want to show up because I had so many other things going on. So I essentially had to go to my higher ranking officers and say, hey, I can't do this anymore. And legally in the military, if you make X amount of dollars, they actually have to give you an honorable discharge because they've had issues with, from what I understand, insubordination. Somebody makes too much money, so they tell their higher up, hey, you go do my job and I'll pay you for it. So I actually had to legally get out for, that. Short answer, yes, it was weird. You're around a bunch of people that blue collar, they make $30,000, $40,000 a year, and I'm making that in 2 weeks. It's an awkward conversation, but it's just reality. So yeah, that's my answer to that. All right, so next question. Best investment you've made?
For me, that's an easy one. My buddy Emery was my primary mentor in the apartment business.
Okay.
And early on, I learned that Emery loves Tito's and Fresca. And I tell you, the first time I shared a drink with him of Tito's and Fresca, I was like, what is this awful, awful sweet drink? But, it grew on me over the years. And I probably bought over the years, I don't know, at least a dozen bottles of Tito's vodka and the 2 liters in the plastic container of Fresca, and, have a little cooler that I'd put ice in it and go meet him wherever he was, that he would let me follow him around. What I found is that, if I just kept his glass full, and he was really particular about that, it had to be red cups, and he either had to have Dixie or Solo cups, so specific those brands. But I knew what he drank, and I would just come to him like a mobile bartender, and I'd be serving him those vodka Frescas and having it with him. And he mentored me, step by step through the apartment business. And then that made me tens of millions of dollars. So I'm going to guess for that dozen bottles of Tito's vodka made right here in Texas, in Austin, it was probably a few $100, and it turned into an ROI in the tens of millions. So I think it's going to be tough for me to ever find an investment better than vodka Fresca from my mentor.
Interesting.
How about you?
Me? Oh gosh. I don't have a story like that, I can tell you that. Best investment, I would say $10 microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, $10 microphone that turned into what my career is. Turned into that. I would say $10 microphone turned into, and I'm not going to give specific numbers, but in, tens of millions in that area. So 10 to 10. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Has having more money made you happier?
I don't think money in and of itself makes anybody happy. And this is going to sound cliche, but what I do believe is true is that money does buy some degree of freedom. And I think that freedom to spend time with people that you care about, to not miss certain moments because you're sort of trapped in a 9-to-5, having the ability to really transform communities in a way that doesn't just make me and my investors money, but I've transformed whole areas with the properties out there that I've purchased.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, my side of things, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you don't know what it's like to not have money at this stage of life. Obviously, when I'm in my 18, 20 years old, we don't have anything. We're still living with mom and dad. It's hard to say whether it makes you happier or not. What I can piggyback off of you is you can do more, right? You can help more. For instance, I've been fortunate enough to set up drug rehab facilities for people, 10, 20 different guys that are struggling with that. They now have access to help that wouldn't have happened without me being involved, which is great. That reflects on, my happiness. Being able to help in that sense is great. I don't want to attribute that to just having money, because if I didn't, I could have easily helped set that up in other ways with sweat equity and other ways. But, given what we're given, I would say having money can make you happier, but at the same time, it can make you miserable.
When talking about the things you've accomplished and the freedom that money has given you, it makes me kind of wonder if you went all the way back to the beginning, to completely start over from scratch. You were that broke 18-year-old kid just starting out, wet behind the ears. What would you do now to go make that first million and build financial independence for your family?
For me, it would be very risky, but it would be crypto.
Gotcha.
It's awful advice, terrible advice, but I think that's the quickest way to do it. But you have to do it correctly, because you can lose everything just as fast as you made it. That's how volatile that industry is, as you know. That's one avenue for me. The other avenue, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Go ahead and give the answer that I think you're going to give.
I mean, it's obvious, a lot of people, have done this now, but definitely if I was starting over, OnlyFans all the way. Yeah, just kidding. I think today what I'm seeing is that every industry is in the process of being transformed by AI. But I think I would have, from the beginning, been trying to figure out how to make a real estate play utilizing AI in the business, because I think that anyone who wants to really scale now and build, something really that's somewhat future-proof, if anything can be, you really have no choice but to incorporate AI into that, because your competitor will be doing so. And so AI is not going to put you out of business, but your competitor that is using AI, if you're not, will put you out of business. So Ian, I've always, wondered this: can anyone go out and become a massive success on YouTube the way that you have, or are there limitations on that to be successful like you are in that field?
Yes and no. If you have the hard work, which goes for anything, yes. If you have the personality, yes. If you have both, the chance of success is very high.
Ian, I've always wondered, after I met you and I found out that you were a household name amongst 8-year-olds everywhere. And I thought to myself, I wonder, when Ian is making these videos, does he ever have any concern, for that mom who's in the kitchen making dinner, having to listen to these videos in the background? Does he have any compassion for the dad who's a real estate investor, who's just sitting there trying to complete an underwriting worksheet while having to listen to his son endlessly stream these brain rot videos? I just wondered, does he have any compassion for the parents in the home that have to listen to this stuff while it's going on in the background?
I say yes, and I tell everyone that approaches me with that, I say, sorry for your loss. But then I just, I go to the bank. Such a
That was pretty good.
All right, next question. Worst investment you've made?
For me, it was when I bought a mall, and I thought, well, what's that different about an apartment complex versus a mall? And I'd already bought numerous apartment complexes and turned them around, made money from them in my hometown in Pasadena. I thought, why would the mall be any different? And I did renovate it, and I did wind up increasing, the rents and reducing the expenses and making it nicer and kind of revitalizing it, which was nice. But overall, what I realized is that I already had my, as Warren Buffett calls it, my 10,000 hours in the apartment industry. I know that backwards and forwards. And here was this, similar investment because it's real estate, but actually very, very different. So for me, it was a learning experience that has allowed me to say no to a lot of other stuff that is outside my lane. And, Clint Eastwood once said, a man has to know his limitations. And boy, did I learn him in that deal.
So your worst investment, I'm trying to get the worst out of you here. Well, Jack is, you still made money.
Yeah, but look how much work I had to do, man. Come on now.
Well, my worst investment, I've lost a lot of money on many different things. Being on the internet, you start companies and you invest in companies, a lot of startups on the internet because the internet's relatively new compared to real estate. I've lost $100,000 in this startup, $100,000 in this startup. I think my biggest investment in a company that I co-owned, I didn't put money directly up, but it was revenue that we pulled in through other avenues that we invested into this. And I want to say it was, $750,000 that just poof, gone. We tried and it failed. So
yikes.
Your worst investment, you've made $1 million. My worst investment, I've lost almost $1 million. So that's cool. Why do most real estate investors fail?
7th grade math.
I'll elaborate. So the underwriting, when you buy a deal, you got to do the underwriting. You got to figure out if it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm amazed by these deals that people buy. They massively overpay. Then to add insult to injury, they massively over-leverage the deal. Then to put a cherry on top of the stupidity, they go put a variable rate mortgage on it. Then act surprised when the rate goes up or when the rate cap burns off. And it's like, well, I never would have thought that if I overpaid for a deal, over-leveraged it, and had complete, disregard for interest rate risk, which is a thing that goes up and down in the market. And therefore, there never could have been a spreadsheet where I actually underwrote this deal with any reasonable standard of care. And I just don't know why it didn't work out, Ian. Like, what a shock. And so to me, 7th grade math is served me well. The whole minus, plus, multiply, divide, it's amazing.
Okay, last question for you. Do you want to make more money? Oh boy. If so, how much?
It's funny. My wife and I have talked a lot about this because there's not an amount of money that we're going to go make at this stage that will change where we live or what we drive or where we go on vacation or where our kids go to college or, anything that really matters to us materially. But there is a question of legacy. What do we want to leave behind for our kids? What do we want to leave behind for, causes that we believe in? And so that's kind of been driving that discussion in our household, over this past year since I came back to the business. And, we've kind of concluded that, a nice round number as sort of a minimum being worth it to come back from retirement and do this would be maybe a couple of $100 million. There's not really a ceiling on that. And if we made, another dollar or $1 billion, it wouldn't change our lifestyle at all. There's nothing that we want that we don't have. So we're very blessed in that regard, but it would change the legacy that we can leave behind. And my wife is really passionate about underprivileged kids. There's some things that she would like to do for orphanages in Mexico, for example, and also to help kids that have cancer. And there's some things that I'd like to do in my hometown. So we have some goals along those lines. So I'm kind of curious for you, you seem like a simple guy, really, in terms of like your lifestyle. What's your goal and why?
I like helping people. That's, I don't like talking about how I've helped people monetarily. I do it from time to time just to, show that I am doing things and to give people inspiration to maybe want to do it as well. So I guess my end goal is I've noticed the more revenue that comes in, the more I'm willing to help because it's a percentage game, right? Like if you make $100,000, giving away $100 is immaterial. But for somebody that's making $10,000, giving away $100, that makes a big difference. So the more revenue you bring in, the more you're willing to help. And, help for another person. If let's say I'm making $10 million a year, somebody needs help, their house burned down, they need $50,000 to get back on their feet. $50,000 compared to $10 million revenue, it's immaterial. That's just math. For me, it's a numbers game. I know what type of person I am. I know what type of person I'm trying to raise my kids to be. So I would rather us bring in as much revenue as we can because we know we're going to want to help other people. So for an amount for me, I just want to work. I want to work as hard as I can and build as much as I can. And, I like to quote Brandon Turner, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he essentially says he wants to teach people how to make money in real estate, but not lose their souls. There's this stigma, rightfully so, around people that have money, that they tend to get the money in a bad way, whatever it is. And I want to do it correctly. But yeah, I think that wraps up this video. Thanks again, Jack. Iced coffee hour. That was awkward. But again, subscribe to the channel. We plan on putting out a lot of content here. And if you're interested in getting in touch with us, links will be in the description. Emails will be in the description. Come check us out. And yeah, hope to see you soon.